Hey, amazing people. I'm back. It's Friday. We are in chapter 2 of The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The chapter title, Consciousness, the Way Out of Pain. Create no more pain in the present. The question someone asks, nobody's life is entirely free of pain and sorrow. Isn't it a question of learning to live with them rather than trying to avoid them? And he answers, the greater part of human pain is unnecessary. It is self-created as long as the unobserved mind runs your life. The pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is. On the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment. On the emotional level, it is some form of negativity. The intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment. And this in turn depends on how strongly you are identified with your mind. The mind always seeks to deny the now and to escape from it. In other words, the more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer. Or you may put it like this: the more you are able to honor and accept the now, the more you are free of pain, suffering, and free of the egoic mind. Why does the mind habitually deny or resist the now? Because it cannot function and remain in control without time, which is past and future, so it perceives the timeless now as threatening. Time and mind are in fact inseparable. That's because we want to be in control. You can control the past because you already know what happens. You can keep planning over and over in your mind, changing the situation to what you think it should be, knowing full and goddamn well you can't do that. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. The future, you can say, well, it's going to be this or that. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. And so you don't have it now. So you can project into the future that you will have it, but you don't know that. The now, the moment we're in, is the moment we're not sure what the hell is going on. But if we were to just observe and allow life to flow, we'd find that it'd be a lot more better than living in the past. You can't change it. How many times have you and I went over a conversation in our head, an argument with somebody, and said, I should have said, and he better be glad, or she better be glad I didn't say. You didn't say it. So why are we doing all of that? Because we can control it. But when we come into the now moment and we can't control it, that's when life gets really good, though. But that's when it also gets really scary. Imagine the earth devoid of human life, inhabited only by plants and animals. Would it still have a past and a future? Could we still speak of time in any meaningful way? The question, what time is it, or what is today's date, if anybody were there to ask it, would be quite meaningless. The oak tree or the eagle would be bemused by such a question. What time? They would ask. Well, of course, it's now. The time is now. What else is there? Yes, we need the mind as well as time to function in this world, but there comes a point where they take over our lives, and this is where dysfunction, pain, and sorrow set in. The mind, to ensure that it remains in control, seeks continuously to cover up the present moment with past and future, and so, as the vitality and infinite creative potential of being, which is inseparable from the now, becomes covered up with time, your true nature becomes obscured by the mind. An increasingly heavy burden of time has been accumulating in the human mind. All individuals are suffering under this burden, but they also keep adding it to every moment whenever they ignore or deny that the precious moment or reduce it to a means of getting some future moment, which only exists in the mind, never in actuality. The accumulation of time in the collective and individual human mind also holds a vast amount of residual pain from the past. If you no longer want to create pain for yourself and others, if you no longer want to add to the residue of past pain that still lives on in your mind, then don't create any more time, or at least no more than is necessary to deal with the practical aspects of your life. How to stop creating time? How to stop creating time? He has a question mark. Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. Whereas before you dwelt in time and paid brief visits to the now, have your dwelling place in the now and pay brief visits to the past and future when required to deal with the practical aspects of your life situation. Always say yes to the present moment. What could be more futile, more insane than to create inner resistance to something that already is? And that's what we do. when somebody brings something in our life that we don't like and we just act like, why'd you do that? And you keep going over and over, it's done now. Why'd you do it? It's not going to change why they did it. What could be more, okay, what could be more insane than to oppose life itself, which is now and always now? Surrender to what is. Say yes to life and see how life suddenly starts working for you rather than against you. When somebody brings some pain in your life, accept it. What's her name? Maya Angelou says, when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. And I used to say, no, people can change. I'm not going to do that because that's like not forgiving. And Jesus, I got to forgive people, so I'm not going to do that. Maya Angelou was right. When they show you who they are the first time, believe them. It doesn't mean that they may not change, but you don't stick around waiting for them to change unless you want to just be dragged up and down the street. Then you go right ahead. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, ain't going back there again. The present moment is sometimes unacceptable, unpleasant, and awful. Look, it is as it is. Observe how the mind labels it and how this labeling process, this continuous sitting in judgment, creates pain and unhappiness. By watching the mechanics of the mind, you step out of its resistance patterns and you can then allow the present moment to be. This will give you a taste of the state of inner freedom from external conditions, the state of true inner peace. Then see what happens and take action if necessary or possible. Accept, then act. Accept it, and then you can decide what to do. When I started to accept things and accept people for who they were, I then knew how to act. But when I just, oh no, they didn't mean that, what they meant was this, they didn't do that, I am a protector. And so I would protect people knowing that they were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing and hurting me. But they were only hurting me because I was accepting it. Once I decided, I'm not going to accept this, then it no longer hurts me. By watching the mechanics of your mind, you step out of its resistance patterns, and you can then allow the present moment to be. This will give you a taste of the state of inner freedom from external conditions, the state of true inner peace. Then see what happens and take action if necessary or possible. Accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it, because you really have. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and your ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. I bear witness that that's what happens. Past pain dissolve in the pain body. As long as you are unable to access the power of the now, every emotional pain that you experience leaves behind a residue of pain that lives on in you. It merges with the pain from the past, which was already there, and becomes lodged in your mind and body. This, of course, includes the pain suffered as a child caused by unconsciousness of the world into which you were born. This accumulated pain is a negative energy field that occupies your body and mind. If you look on it as an invisible entity in its own right, you are getting quite close to the truth. It's the emotional pain body. It has two modes of being, dormant and active. A pain body may be dormant 90% of the time in a deeply unhappy person, though it may be active up to 100% of the time. Some people live almost entirely through their pain body, while others may experience it only in certain situations, such as intimate relationships or situations linked with past loss or abandonment, physical or emotional hurt, and so on. Anything can trigger it, particularly if it resonates with the pain pattern from your past. When it is ready to awaken from its dormant stage, even a thought or an innocent remark made by someone close to you can activate it. I was born to a 17-year-old girl and a 19-year-old boy. The 19-year-old boy did not want to have any children by a 17-year-old girl that he barely knew. And he denied that I was his child. I found out when I was 14 years old, and from that moment on, I began self-sabotaging everything I touched because I said my daddy didn't want me. I was abandoned. My daddy didn't want me. All the while I had a wonderful father. The man that married my mother when I was 2 years old and took me on as his daughter, gave me his name, put his name on my birth certificate. He was a wonderful father until the day he decided he didn't want to be that anymore. When my mother divorced him for his own infidelity and his foolishness, he decided, I'm divorcing all of them. But I made up an abandonment story in my mind that didn't exist. My birth father didn't abandon me. He didn't know me. He didn't know me, so he didn't abandon me. He abandoned the opportunity to be the father of an amazing woman. The father that raised me, when he left us after 18 years, he didn't leave me. He left the ability to have a good woman and a good life because he could not keep his penis off a world tour. And lots of men are like that and lose really good women because they take their dicks on world tours. And that dick out there on a world tour just picking up all of the seedy women. Because honestly, only a woman who has no self-worth for herself lays knowingly with somebody she knows is married. She ain't shit and he ain't shit. But they can be shit when they want to be. Anywho, that was personal. My father's lifestyle hurt us. But we're okay now. Because we didn't make it personal. We accepted it. Okay, what was that? Okay. Some pain bodies are obnoxious but relatively harmless. For example, like a child who won't stop whining. Others are vicious and destructive monsters, true demons. Some are physically violent, many more are emotionally violent. Some will attack people around you or close to you, while others might attack you, their host. Thoughts and feelings you have about your life then become deeply negative and self-destructive. Illnesses and accidents are often created in this way. Some pain bodies drive their host to suicide. Let me back up. I shouldn't have said somebody ain't shit. That was the emotional side of me. Because honestly, we all are broken. And they just do something in a way that I wouldn't do. But it doesn't give me the right to call anybody. So cancel, delete me calling and saying people ain't shit. Because that's not my right. Nor is it true to who I am. But I went through a lot when my father left. We went from basically being George and Wheezy living on the east side to not quite the good times, but it was some rough times after that. And it wasn't just financially, it was emotionally. It was hard, but I shouldn't have said that, and I apologize. If you are someone that listens to me, but you sleep with married men, or you are a married man sleeping with somebody else, I don't have a right to judge you. Okay. When you thought you knew a person and then you are suddenly confronted with this alien, nasty creature for the first time, you are in for quite a shock. I've been there. However, it's more important to observe it in yourself than in someone else. Watch out for any sign of unhappiness in yourself in whatever form it may be awakening the pain body. This can take the form of irritation, impatience, a somber mood, a desire to hurt, anger, rage, depression, a need to have some drama in your relationship, and so on. Catch the moment it awakens from its dormant state. When you catch it, you can deal with it better. The pain body wants to survive, just like every other entity in existence. And it can only survive if it gets you to unconsciously identify with it. Everything wants to live, even pain. It can then rise up, take you over, become you, and live through you. It needs to get its food through you. It will feed on any experience that resonates with its own kind of energy, anything that creates further pain in whatever form, anger, destructiveness, hatred, grief, emotional drama, violence, and even illness. So the pain body, when it has taken over, will create a situation in your life that reflects back its own energy frequency for it to feed on. Pain can only feed on pain. Let me say that again. Pain can only feed on pain. Pain cannot feed on joy. It finds it quite indigestible. Once the pain body has taken you over, you want more pain. You become a victim or a perpetrator. You want to inflict pain or you want to suffer pain, or both. There isn't really much difference between the two. You are not conscious of this, of course, and will vehemently claim that you do not want pain. But look closely and you will find that your thinking and behavior are designed to keep you in the pain going for yourself and for others. If you were truly conscious of it, the pattern would dissolve. For to want more pain is insanity, and nobody is consciously insane. And we do this by allowing someone, they do something to us that's very hurtful, and we stay in their life wondering if they're doing it again, checking on, and that's just bringing more pain. Just move on. If you can't forgive and let go and trust that that was a momentary lapse in judgment for them, then move on. It probably wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. They knew what they was doing. They wanted to do it. They need to go heal their own pain. Doesn't mean that the two of you can't work through it, but there's some self-healing that has to happen. The pain body, which is the dark shadow cast by the ego, is actually afraid of the light of your consciousness. It is afraid of being found out. Its survival depends on your unconsciousness identification with it, as well as on your unconscious fear of facing the pain that lives in you. But if you don't face it, if you don't bring it to the light of your consciousness, into the pain, you will be forced to relive it again and again. That's how people end up with the same person in a different body, because they don't deal with the pain. They don't face it and heal it. They just meet 5 different men with the same issue because they didn't heal it with that first man. They just come different looking, but they have the same bullshit. The pain body may seem to you like a dangerous monster that you cannot bear to look at, but I assure you that it's an insubstantial phantom that can prevail against the power of your that cannot prevail against the power of your presence. Some spiritual teachings state that all pain is ultimately an illusion, and this is true. The question is it true for you? A mere belief doesn't make it true. Do you want to experience pain for the rest of your life and keep saying that it is an illusion? Does that free you from the pain? What are we concerned with here is how you can realize the truth, that is, make it real in your own experience. So the pain body doesn't want you to observe it directly and see it for what it is. The moment you observe it, feel its energy feel within you, and take your attention into it, the identification is broken. A higher dimension of consciousness comes in, and I call it presence. You are now the witness or the watcher of the pain body. This means that it cannot use you anymore by pretending to be you, and it can no longer replenish itself through you. You have found your own innermost strength. You have accessed the power of now. Question: what happens to the pain body when we become conscious enough to break our identification with it? And he answers, unconsciousness creates it. Consciousness transmutes it into itself. St. Paul expressed this universal principle beautifully. Everything is shown up by being exposed. Everything is shown up by being exposed to the light. And whatever exposed to the light itself becomes light. I'll read that again. Everything is shown up by being exposed to the light. And whatever is exposed to the light itself becomes light. Just as you cannot fight the darkness, you cannot fight the pain body. Trying to do so would create inner conflict and further this pain. Watching it is enough. Watching it implies accepting it as a part of what is in that moment. The pain body consists of trapped life energy that has split off from your total energy field and has temporarily become autonomous through the unnatural process of mind identification. It is turned on itself and become anti-life, like an animal trying to devour its own tail. Why do you think our civilization has become so life-destructive? But even the life-destructive forces are still life energy. When you start to disidentify and become the watcher, the pain body will continue to operate for a while and will try to trick you into identifying with it again. Although you are no longer energizing it through your identification, it has certain momentum, just like a spinning wheel, that will keep turning for a while, even when it's no longer being propelled. And we get to that. We go, see, it's not going away. No, it's going. You just got to keep going forward. You got to do like Dory says, just keep swimming. At this stage, it may also create physical aches and pains in different parts of the body, but they won't last. It will try to trick you because it just wants to live. It's dying. It's clutching on to anything. Let it go. Let it die. Stay present. Stay conscious. Be the ever-alert guardian of your inner space. You need to be present enough to be able to watch the pain body directly and feel its energy. Then it cannot control your thinking. The moment your thinking is aligned with the energy field of the pain body, you identify with it and again feeding it with your thoughts. For example, if anger is the predominant energy vibration of the pain body and you think angry thoughts, dwelling on what someone did to you or what you're going to do to him or her, then you have become unconscious and the pain body has become you. Where there is anger, there's always pain underneath. Or when a dark mood comes upon you and you start getting into a negative mind pattern and thinking how dreadful your life is, your thinking has become aligned with the pain body and you have become unconscious and vulnerable to the pain body's attack. Unconsciousness, the way that I use the word here, means to be identified with something mental or emotional, let's go back. Unconsciousness, the way I use the word here, means to be identified with some mental or emotional pattern. It implies a complete absence of the watcher. Sustained consciousness attention severs the link between the pain body and your thought process. Let's go back. Sustained conscious attention severs the link between the pain body and your thought process and brings about the process of transmutation. It is as if the pain becomes fuel for the flame of your consciousness, which then burns more brightly as a result. This is the esoteric meaning of the ancient art of alchemy, the transmutation of a base metal into gold, of suffering into consciousness. Let's start that over because I messed it all up. Sustained consciousness attention severs the link between the pain body and your thought process and brings about the process of transmutation. It is as if the pain becomes fuel for the flames of your consciousness, which then burns more brightly as a result. This is the esoteric meaning of the ancient art of alchemy, the transmutation of base metal into gold, of suffering into consciousness. The split within us is healed and you become whole again. Your responsibility then is not to create further pain. Let's summarize the process. Let me summarize the process. Focus attention on the feeling inside of you. Know that it is the pain body. Accept that it is there. Don't think about it. Don't let the feeling turn into thinking. Don't judge or analyze. Don't make an identity for yourself out of it. Stay present and continue to be the observer of what is happening inside of you. Become aware not only of the emotional pain, but also of the one who observes, the silent watcher. This is the power of the now, the power of your own conscious presence. Then let's see what happens. For many women, the pain body awakens particularly at the time preceding the menstrual flow. I will talk about this and the reason for it in more detail later. Right now, let me just say this. If you are able to stay alert and present at that time and watch whatever you feel within rather than be taken over by it, it affords an opportunity for the most powerful spiritual practice, and a rapid transmutation of all past pain becomes possible. Ego identification with the pain body. The process that I have just described is profoundly powerful yet simple. It can be taught to a child, and hopefully one day it will be one of the first things children learn in school. Once you have understood the basic principle of being present as the watcher of what happens inside of you, and you understand it by experiencing it, you have at your disposal the most potent transformational tool. This is not to deny that you may encounter intense inner resistance to disidentifying from your pain. This will be the case, particularly if you have lived closely identified with your emotional pain body for most of your life, and the whole or a large part of your sense of self is invested in it. We are at 23 minutes, and I know you guys don't typically listen that long, and this chapter is a little bit longer than I thought, so I'm going to stop it here because we have like 6 more pages, and it shows that you don't listen more than that amount of time, and it's a lot to take in. So I want to stop there and just kind of go back to what he was saying about the pain body, the ego attention. And let me say this one again, so maybe you can do this. He says, let me summarize the process. Focus attention on the feeling inside of you. Know that it is the pain body. Accept that it is there. Don't think about it. Don't let the feeling turn into thinking. Don't judge or analyze. Don't make an identity for yourself out of it. Stay present and continue to be the observer of what is happening inside of you. Become aware not only of the emotional pain, but also of the one who observes, the silent watcher. This is the power of the now, the power of your own conscious presence. Then see what happens. So we just wanted to talk about that, understanding that this is the basic principle of coming into the now. And on Monday, we shall resume. School is started back up, and I'm recognizing that 5 days a week doing this with school and stuff is probably a bit much. And in the past, what I would do is when I take on too much, I drop everything. And I don't want to drop this. So I'm probably going to cut this back to 3 days a week so that I can not only feel authentic when I'm reading, but I can also do some of the other things I'm going to do. I don't know the 3 days just yet. As soon as I figure them out, I will let you know. But I really enjoy doing this. You go, oh, take a long time to get through the book. But here's the good thing. When we're all the way through the book, you can go back and just press play over and over and over, and you can get through the book even faster. Thank you so much for your time. Like, share, subscribe. I will see you Monday.